Really, really weird stuff. And it just keeps going. It's an avalanche of accusation after accusation. Effective altruism, always at work. Frauds, partner in crime. It gets even juicier. Welcome back, guys. Always a pleasure to be here with you. So today I'm going to talk about the lawsuit from FTX directed at the parents. It's extremely informative, to say the least. And why talk about it if Scam Sam lost at trial? Well, it's because it completes the circle. There's clearly other characters involved in the crypto exchange fraud. And I have to say that I absolutely agree with FTX's wording in this lawsuit, because they go as far as saying that the parents themselves exploited their. And as much as Scam Sam is like this goofy character that everyone essentially wanted to see him go down, we can't ignore that he's a product of these two so-called legal experts, that they absolutely used their kid to enrich themselves. And that is super sad. Just look at his defense. His defense was pathetic. Pathetic. His parents, legal experts, useless in defending Scam Sam. Not just that, when evidence was shown of the private chats between Scam Sam and the Sam Squad, many of those private chats where they were discussing their wrongdoings, when they were discussing billions and billions of dollars that went missing, many of those chats included Joseph Bankman. So how sad is it for Scam Sam to be utilized in this way by his own parents? The man is arguably extremely delusional, exceptionally narcissistic, but you can't deny that his parents used in this really messed up way. With that said, I'm gonna get started on this lawsuit, and it's actually quite long. It's 63 pages long. So if the video goes on for way too long, I'm gonna have to cut it in half, and then I'll put up the second half just tomorrow, so you won't have to wait long. So I'm basically just going to read off the lawsuit, summarize and paraphrase when appropriate, when needed, but from now on, all the allegations are in the lawsuit. It's not me making these allegations against Joe Bankman and Barbara Fried. It's FTX. So don't sue me, Mr. Bankman or Mrs. Fried. Wouldn't that be something to get sued by them? That'd be hilarious. This particular lawsuit was filed in September the 18th of 2023. So just this year, which means that this is likely the most information that they've gathered within the past year since the FTX collapse. FTX Trading et al. Versus Alan Joseph Bankman and Barbara Fried, the defendants, the parents of our dear friend, Scam Sam. Alrighty, so here's the first page of the lawsuit. Notice it's FTX Trading plus the debtors, which includes Alameda Research LLC, Alameda Research Ltd Limited, FTX Trading, West Realm Shires Incorporated, West Realm Shires Services Incorporated, and FTX US. So all of them seek to get the money out of Barbara and Joseph Bankman. It says they file this complaint to recover damages caused by fraudulent transfers, breaches of fiduciary duties, aiding and abetting breaches of fiduciary duty, unjust enrichment, knowing assistance or knowing receipt, and other wrongdoings, and to avoid and recover fraudulent transfers. And let's keep this in mind that with Scam Sam's verdict, all guilty verdicts for 7 charges, this is going to help all the cases that FTX is filing, whether it's Daniel Friedberg, whether it's Fenwick Law Firm, or whether it's the parents themselves. Okay, in the preliminary statement, they say that this lawsuit seeks to recover millions in fraudulently transferred and misappropriated funds from the parents of Samuel Bankman Fried, named Alan Joseph Bankman and Barbara Fried. The lawsuit says Bankman and Fried exploited their access and influence within the FTX enterprise to enrich themselves directly and indirectly by millions and millions of dollars. And they did this knowingly. Right away, it gets extremely interesting. The second paragraph of the preliminary statement, it says that despite representing itself as a sophisticated business dealing with cryptocurrency, the FTX group was self-described as a family-run business. Ouch. That is key. They go on to say that it has since been revealed that the whole thing, the whole crypto exchange and businesses were fueled by fraud, perpetrated by and for the benefit of FTX insiders, including Daniel Friedberg, Scam Sam, Gary Wang, Nishad Singh, Caroline Ellison, and collectively with Bankman, Joseph Bankman, as an FTX insider. Key right there. Joseph Bankman played a key role in perpetuating the culture of misrepresentation and gross mismanagement, helping cover up the fraud, also helping cover up allegations of the fraud where it might have been exposed had it not been for Joseph Bankman. That together, Bankman and Fried, Barbara Fried, that they siphoned millions and millions and millions of dollars for their own personal benefit and pet causes. They actually use the word pet causes, which is pretty funny. They say that this lawsuit seeks to hold them accountable for their misconduct. Then they move to talk specifically about Joseph Bankman because they say that he used his background, of course, and his son, Scam Sam, to position himself as an FTX insider. They say defendant Bankman, a tenured law professor at Stanford University with decades of experience in tax law, and get this, as an insider at the center of FTX Group. They accused Joseph Bankman of taking full advantage and recognizing, being fully aware of the privilege of his position, quoting him from February 2021, where he said that he was very involved in the business. On top of that, it says that Bankman proudly touted that he was an early investor in Alameda, that they say all the insiders used and misappropriated billions of dollars in customer funds. That Joseph Bankman advised not just FTX, but also its subsidiary entities, the associated entities, with regard to both business and legal matters. Huge accusation right there. They say that in January 2021, FTX Alameda Limited, WRS, retained Joseph Bankman as pro bono counsel to advise them on general corporate and tax matters. All of them. FTX and all entities associated with the FTX group. Huge accusation. They go on to say that later that year, Bankman became employed by FTX US as senior advisor to the FTX Foundation, later being renamed FTX Philanthropy. Effective altruism, always at work. It gets even juicier. They say that in addition to his formal roles, Joseph Bankman had broad authority to make decisions for the FTX group as de facto officer, director, and manager. That FTX US, that their general counsel described Joseph Bankman as a strategic advisor and general overseer of the FTX business. And that is a direct quote from the FTX general counsel. They say that Bankman was identified in internal documents as a member of the FTX group management team, and that he managed related tax deductions and tax issues generally. Oh my God, and get this, it says that he strategized the issuance of hundreds of millions of dollars in loans from FTX group entities to individuals. That's huge, where he strategized the issuance of hundreds of millions of dollars in loans from FTX to those individuals that essentially ended up coming out as frauds. And they pleaded guilty. And it just keeps going. It's an avalanche of accusation after accusation. It's torpedo after torpedo thrown at Joseph Bankman, and rightfully so, where he even went as far as recommending acquiring properties in the Bahama itself. And get this, he was a frequent participant in executive level discussions, even including those establishing FTX affiliated entities. They say that he was part of discussions also including creating asset protection trusts, which is huge. This is how they protect the hidden stash, because it's kept in a jurisdiction outside the US and in a trust. Huge. These people are crooks up the wazoo. The lawsuit says that with his background, and of course having the ear of Scam Sam, that Joseph was well positioned to recommend internal controls to avoid any kind of wrongdoing. But instead, he was actually part of the whole gang, where he even participated in hushing a complaint where the fraud would have been exposed. Funny enough, bullet point number 7, they accuse him of unearned gifts. They say that as early as 2018, Joseph Bankman provided general counsel. Now here's where it gets kind of weird with Joseph Bankman and his legal connections, specifically with Daniel Friedberg. Really bizarre. Almost like he set up his son to up. Maybe setting up his son to deal with someone accused of stealing millions and millions and millions of dollars in another business. Anyways, for example, it says that Joseph Bankman, early on, he would be the one recommending accounting firms to Alameda, and that accounting firm would later go on to be the accounting firm for FTX. It says that Joseph Bankman also chose specifically the law firm, to serve as FTX outside legal counsel. They say that he advocated actively to hire Daniel Friedberg. Oh my God, why? A partner at the time for this particular law firm, which is Fenwick, where Daniel Friedberg would move from becoming a partner at this law firm to working directly for FTX. Now, they have a quote directly quoting Joseph Bankman, March 2021, and I quote, "For what it's worth, I interviewed lots of firms for my son's company and chose Fenwick. And let me tell you, I felt I had a lot riding on that decision." Very interesting wording there. Why the hell would Joseph Bankman pick Fenwick, and in particular, Daniel Friedberg? I guarantee you he knew Daniel Friedberg's shady past and advocated for him. Super bizarre. FTX says that in late 2018, Joseph Bankman advised about merging corporate accounts, merging corporate entities, and establishing bank accounts. Also that in 2019, they have Joseph Bankman referring to the organization of FTX Group, to all the umbrella subsidiaries and entities, as our corporate structure. Emphasis added in the lawsuit. Very interesting there. On January the 14th in 2021, that Joseph Bankman formalized aspects of his role within the FTX Group. That this was actually formal because he signed agreements with FTX Group, all of its subsidiaries, all of its entities, as providing general corporate and tax matters on a pro bono basis. So he did that in January of 2021. They quoted him February of 2021 that Joseph Bankman said it was a factual reality that he was very involved in the business. You can't get more explosive than that. Joseph Bankman, maybe he needs to go down too. I don't know. So the lawsuit says that by January 2021, if not even earlier, that Joseph Bankman was de facto officer, director, manager of FTX Trading, Alameda Limited, and FTX US. Also that he entered into another written agreement with FTX US, where he entered in the agreement to be the senior advisor of FTX Philanthropy back in December of 2021. So this guy's clearly an insider. Interestingly enough, the FTX lawsuit goes into Joseph Bankman's background. And I mean, deep into his background. They say that Joseph Bankman graduated from Yale Law School back in 1980. And he's a licensed psychologist. That's pretty interesting. That he's been teaching at Stanford for 35 years. Really long time. They call him a leading scholar on US tax policy. That Joseph Bankman has even testified before Congress multiple times. Okay, so then they move on to talk about Barbara Fried. And here is something very, very interesting. I've not heard this before, but they describe her, FTX describes her in the lawsuit as a domestic partner, not as a wife, not as a spouse. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting because legally they cannot describe each other as family. Anyways, they go on to describe her as also a Stanford professor who was an FTX insider. And they quote her here directly. Really, really bizarre quote. It says here, describing herself as her son's partner in crime in the non-criminal sort. What the hell does that mean? That's a direct quote from Barbara Fried about her relationship with her son. So bizarre. Anyways, they accuse her of being the single most influential advisor regarding Scam Sam's political contributions and, of course, her association with Mind the Gap, the political action committee that's full of Stanford professors and academics in Silicon Valley, blah, blah, blah. Their success rate for getting people elected was like 50%. So, not the most successful. They say that both Bankman and Fried, as tenured professors at what is supposedly currently the #1 law school in the United States, either knew or ignored all red flags associated with Scam Sam and FTX and all of the insiders' wrongdoings, all part of a fraud scheme to promote and to benefit personal enrichment. It says here that despite knowing or blatantly ignoring the insolvency or the brink of insolvency, that Bankman and Fried discussed with Scam Sam the transfer of cash gifts worth millions and millions and millions of dollars along with property, as well as them pushing for tens of millions of dollars to be transferred and donated to Stanford University to push their own status, their social status, their professional status at the expense of customers' funds. They say that Barbara Fried, concerned with optics regarding her political contributions, of course because the money is coming from her son, that she encouraged Scam Sam and others at FTX to ignore or even violate federal campaign finance disclosure rules by engaging in straw donations where the source of the money, being FTX and customer funds, would be hidden. Ouch. That's an interesting one there because they're kind of making the argument that the campaign finance violations came from the mother. Ouch. Your own mom, worried about her professional social status, potentially got you in deep doo-doo. The lawsuit even has a section called Family Business, where it says that Scam Sam, as a son, he said that his parents were not involved in any relevant parts of the business. But FTX lawsuit says that they were involved from the inception up until the collapse. That as early as 2018, Joseph Bankman described all of FTX, all of Alameda, as a family business, a phrase he repeated to describe the whole FTX group. They go through the companies, the various entities like Alameda, Alameda Limited, Alameda LLC, etc. Starts off with Alameda. Alameda being an LLC out of Delaware. That Scam Sam and Tara McAuley co-founded Alameda around November of 2017, but that Scam Sam owned 90% and Gary Wang 10%. What happened to the Tara girl? Why didn't she have equity ownership if she was co-founder? She supposedly quit early on because she saw some of the wrongdoings that were going on and she didn't want to be part of it. Smart person. Okay, so that was Alameda LLC. Now it goes to Alameda Limited, which is a subsidiary of Alameda. And Alameda Limited is incorporated under the laws of the British Virgin Islands. Shell company after shell company, owning this, owning that, umbrella companies, all that jazz. Then they go on to describe FTX Trading, which they say is incorporated under the laws of Antigua and Barbuda. That FTX Trading was 80% owned by Paperbird Incorporated, and that Paperbird was wholly owned by Scam Sam and is incorporated in Delaware. The remaining 20% of FTX Trading was minority stakeholders, including employees and some investment funds. And WRS comes in as a Delaware corporation, 53% owned by Scam Sam, 17% Gary Wang. So Gary Wang had a lot of equity in a lot of the entities. They say FTX US is a Delaware corporation fully owned as a subsidiary of WRS. The lawsuit says that both Joseph Bankman, Barbara Fried, that they're both residents of Palo Alto, California, but also permanent residents of the Bahamas. Okay guys, I'm gonna stop the video here because it's getting very long. Accusations after accusations, huge. And in a way, it did appear that Scam Sam was trying to protect his parents. Never ever pointing the finger. If anything, he said they were never involved. The man with no soul protecting his parents. And I don't like Scam Sam, but that is just so sad because essentially his parents failed their son. It's also a good idea, as my enlightened and dear friend Timothy has pointed out in the comments, that it is important to remember the millions and millions of everyday folks that suffered huge losses, consequential losses to their lives, to their livelihoods, to their families' well-being. And this applies all around the world because it wasn't just big shot investors like Apple, Netflix, or the US Treasury. It was also everyday Joe and Janes that lost a lot of money. And some might argue that people who put their money or all of their money in crypto, that they're all just stupid. And if you just look around on YouTube, all the crypto channels, the ones that are very specific to crypto, as unrealistic as most of them are, you have to admit that they're extremely, extremely popular because people are looking for some kind of alternative, something. And a lot of people in the crypto sphere basically are kind of riding on this hope wave. It goes to show that people are thirsty, they're hungry for something that is different than what is available now. But anyways, thanks so much for spending time with me, guys. Always a pleasure to see you. Please don't forget to smash like if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.